Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. You may recall last week Rosie O'Donnell took a shot at the worst person who ever lived, Jay Leno. You know that guy, yeah. She took a shot at him for something he did with a guest with one of the biggest losers. Jay Leno has responded and outrageously said, "I don't dislike Rosie. She's a funny comedian." Jay added, "I don't know where Rosie's coming from these days," and said when he hosted The Tonight Show for 22 years, which makes it outrageous that he would even have opinions about how late night television should go or not. I mean, who are you, Jay Leno, to say what late night is or isn't? So you beat David Letterman and they had to bring you back to rescue Conan O'Brien's failing ratings. I mean, what do you know? I like this bit. Jay said he would meet with guests before filming to discuss what would be happening during their segment. Jay said, "I'm pretty sure I asked beforehand if it would be okay. If not, we wouldn't have done it. It's why we got stars who wouldn't do many other shows." In Puck, Matt Bellany caught up with Lorne Michaels, who was asked what was Lorne Michaels' reaction over Colbert Gate. Lorne said, "I was just stunned. I'm on the side of the people who do shows. But there's two audiences now. There's the audience that is watching on TikTok and YouTube, and there's a linear audience. Both Seth and Colbert are heirs to David Letterman. You know what I mean? Conan O'Brien as well. Yeah, I mean, they all have shows that David Letterman used to host. If you're going to draw a line from David Letterman to Seth Meyers late night, it's going to be a little crooked, in my humble opinion. But what do I know? I'm recording a podcast in the basement. Lorne Michaels has been on SNL 46 out of 51 seasons. They like to pretend that those other 5 years didn't happen. Lorne hasn't been with SNL for 50 years. He took a break there. Look it up. Johnny Mac, now you're killing Lorne Michaels? No, I'm just pointing it out. Where were we? Lorne said, "They're going to be that type of late night show, just as I'm still doing SNL, as if everybody's watching that night. But Jimmy Fallon does a lot of stuff you can watch all day." Puck asked, "Do you think the Colbert cancellation was political?" Lorne said, "I don't think any of us are ever going to know that." He talked about the Smothers Brothers thing back in 1969. That happened before I was born. So, I mean, you know, I guess it's tangentially related. Good question here. Have you been assured by Comcast that the Jimmy and Seth shows are safe for the foreseeable future? They're both signed through 2028. Lorne Michaels said, "Yeah, I think the CEO, who I'll be working for the rest of my life, has integrity. But at the same time, everybody has broadcast licenses. Everyone has, but I don't really believe that we affect things." Interesting answer. On to SNL. Lorne, do you feel pressure to reinvent this season? Yeah, for sure. It'll be announced in a week or so. This article came out late last week, so it may have even happened this morning. Will James Austin Johnson be Trump? Yes. I personally hope James Austin Johnson goes back and listens to his original Trump impression. It has really started to drift last season. Lorne didn't want to talk about retirement, but Puck asked, "Are you going to give anyone in particular on your team some added responsibilities this season?" Good phrasing there. Lorne said, "That's already been happening in the past year or so. More people are involved in the choices and in the decisions, but I'm not worried about AI, because AI won't guess what I'm going to do between 10 and 11 on show nights, because I have no idea. There's a lot of people in that room with opinions. I make the final decision, obviously, but it's not as if people don't let me know how strongly they feel." I guess I'll pull up this story. I actually had it in the second half. Last week, Sky revealed plans about bringing SNL to the UK. Sky's executive director of unscripted originals, Phil Edgar Jones, said it's exciting, a bit scary as well. Edgar Jones spent some time embedded with Lorne and the SNL USA team. He has confirmed that James Longman, the executive producer of The Late Late Show with James Corden, will become the showrunner of SNL UK. Edgar Jones hopes the show will be true to the American original, but, quote, has to be a very British thing if it's going to resonate with audiences in the UK. The Sky UK SNL will launch in 2026. There have also been remakes in China, Germany, Italy, and South Korea. Out on Netflix today, Kill Tony. Guests include Jim Norton, Mark Normand, Matt Rife. Boy, you combine Kill Tony, Tony Hinchcliffe, and Matt Rife, the internet's going to explode. There's going to be a whole set of comedians who are not going to be able to deal with that. Guys, it's just a show. Just watch it. It's fun. Slate had done a big article probably 10 days, 2 weeks ago now about Kill Tony. Slate writes, "Some veteran stand-ups find themselves wondering if Kill Tony is less of a comedy exposition and more of a vindictive freak show." James Adomian said, "There's a visible through line here back to shows like Opie and Anthony. He describes such shows as occasionally funny, but mostly just offensive. Kill Tony on Netflix today. Shane Gillis, he's appearing in another Bud Light commercial. This one is titled Vendor Voices. You see Shane Gillis shouting across Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium. Shane is wearing a Texas Longhorns polo shirt. He's attempting to get the attention of a vendor. They go back and forth. Hilarity ensues. Then his friend, spoilers for the Bud Light commercial, his friend comes back from a successful beer run. This is interesting. The Paper, that's the Office spinoff. Remember I told you they were going to put like 4 episodes out and then do like 2, 2, and 2 and burn the whole thing off in September? Well, Peacock has changed their mind, but not in the way I recommend. They're now dropping all 10 episodes on September 4th when we're all watching Cowboys-Eagles. And that means, you know, sites like AV Club and Vulture, they'll have reviewed the entire thing before you and I even have a chance to watch it. Like, I'm a podcaster who works from home. I can't watch The Paper at 6:30 in the morning before a review of 10 episodes of something drops. You got to give me a minute. I think NBC Peacock is making a mistake here. I think they should do a weekly thing and get some buzz around it and get people talking about it. The 10-episode drop makes me think they don't have confidence in it. I have seen some internet chatter from people who have seen it who said it's actually pretty good, but I don't know. This is just really weird. Why would you drop all 10 on September 4th? Ralph Barbosa spoke to the LA Times after his special came out, and he said, now I've got about 10 minutes worth of jokes to my name. I'm broke. Comedy-wise, I'm broke. He grinned and said it's the funniest place to be. The Times asked Barbosa about the perspective he brings as the next generation of Latin comedian. Ralph said, I don't necessarily think it's important to get my voice out there, but I do like making jokes about ICE and immigration because it's like the only way I know how to bring attention to it. I'm not a big political dude or anything like that, but yeah, I've made jokes about things like immigration stuff, ICE stuff. I feel like there's certain topics, certain subjects you can't avoid after a certain point. We should talk about it. We should at least put it in the faces of the people who aren't going to talk about it. Like, if you're not going to talk about it, that's fine too, but you got to at least hear about it. Congratulations to Ken Jeong. He is receiving an award from the 15th Annual Catalina Film Festival on September 27th. The award, the King of Comedy Award, the King of Comedy, Ken Jeong, presented by the Catalina Film Institute. The King of Comedy trophy is given to a performer who has mastered the craft of comedy and uses it to uplift, inspire, and bring joy. Jeong's credits include Knocked Up, Pineapple Express, Role Models, Ride Along 2, Transformers Dark of the Moon, Tom and Jerry, and of course his roles in the Hangover trilogy and as Senior Chang on Community. The New York Post was catching up with Eddie Pepitone, and they pointed out, your IMDb lists 2 upcoming projects. Can you spill any details? Eddie explained, Untitled Neil Brennan Project was filmed a bunch of years ago and never went anywhere. Neil was working on a pilot for Fox, and they passed on it, and I don't know why it's up there like that. He's also working on Dead, an indie film where he plays a rabbi. The story is about a young woman's dad who becomes a ghost and won't leave until there's something settled, and Eddie Pepitone's character oversees a, quote, Jewish exorcism. Tony Rock, comedian. He has a brother named Chris. Tony was doing some crowd work at a recent show. A video clip has gone viral. Rock asked a man in the audience, you want to fight, MFer? It was all in good fun, but the man got up and took off his glasses, seemingly prepared to fight, and Tony Rock said, you better sit down, I ain't Chris, MFer. The crowd laughed at the joke. Tony Rock high-fived his audience member. Hey, you know what happens when you pull an SNL story up to the first half of the podcast? You get to the second half and you realize, oh, you don't have any stories left. What you don't know is I had bounced this Mark Maron story because I thought the first half was getting long, but nope, now it's going into today's show after all. Newsweek asked Mark Maron, what do you think about the current state of podcasts? Maron said at the beginning it was sort of the Wild West. It was an open format. You could do whatever you wanted, not unlike comedy, but with more production, especially when it was all just audio. And I think at the beginning, there was sort of a movement where it was just kind of populist, and that everybody thought they could do it. And it's the same with comedy now. A lot of people do it for a lot of different reasons. Some people are doing it just because their brand will enable them to have another cash flow by capitalizing on who they are, whether they're good at it or not. But ultimately, it's created a lot of yammering. And once everybody went to video and once old school mainstream show business started to collapse in on itself, people were really able, through bubbles and tribalization, able to build their own show business empires. And I think podcasting facilitated that, and that's good. I think in another way, podcasting help people get their voices out there in niche markets and really do interesting stuff, but also lower the bar for entertainment in general. I think you have as much, if not more, unique and interesting content with interesting personalities and talent, but then you have a much larger portion of 2 to 3 white guys sitting in front of microphones talking about the last time they crapped their pants as adults. So you have this large contingency of like afternoon drive radio that seems to speak to a lot of it, which I think lowers the bar. And then you do the other stuff, but I think it opened doors to people having more control of the type of show business they wanted to do. And I think it brought a lot of people that might not have thought they had a profound amount of talent, but at the very least could sit and talk to other people. I can't tell you whether it's good or bad. There's a lot of both and probably more bad than good. Mark, what advice do you have when a young comic comes up to you and says they want to start a podcast? Mark says, well, that timing is great. And you're going to be up against a lot. I'm too old to know what it really takes. I've never really been a guy who produces content for content's sake. We live in a sort of post-publicity world in terms of the other tried and true ways of getting you and your being and brand out there, and it's all on you. So if you're going to do it, it seems I wouldn't want to do it now. To what you have to do to sort of surface as a full-time job before you even get to the podcast in terms of social media, in terms of creating content that grabs people enough to bring them to you. And I think we lose that. And again, it's lowering the bar of what these art forms were, or what these broadcast forms were, because of this desperate need to somehow grab people's attention and hold it for long enough, to keep it for long enough for you to turn a buck out of it. So I'd say, go ahead, I guess, do what you can, but it's not the world I grew up in. It's not the world where people spend a lot of time trying to create interesting and provocative content or some sort of hyper-personalized, well-articulated comedic voices. I mean, everyone's chasing what their freedom of speech may be. It's all now kind of boxed in by social media platform expectations. So how free are you? What are you doing there? You know, he's not wrong. At the end of last week, Howard Stern was accused of manufacturing all the recent Howard Stern controversy. A source told the Daily Mail the rumors actually came from inside Howard's camp. The source claimed they're desperately trying to make this thing go viral to boost his numbers for his return. The stunt was designed to make people tune in to see what Howard's going to say about getting fired from Sirius because his numbers are, quote, pathetic. Also, at the end of last week, there was a rumor in Inside Radio. They were sourcing Radar Online that says Howard Stern has signed a new contract with Sirius, described as a monster payday. We'll see. At the time of this recording, they had not announced that, and late in August would be a weird time to announce that. I still think, and maybe I'm wrong by the time you're hearing this, I still think they'll announce it in December and milk this thing for all the publicity it's worth. I would. It's a lot of fun. And that's your comedy news for today. If you'd like the program without commercial interruption, go on Apple Podcasts. There's a banner. It says uninterrupted listening. You click on that, and you get this show without ads. You'll also get 5 good news stories without ads, assuming I actually remember to edit the episodes. I recorded a whole bunch of them yesterday, but I have to actually edit and publish them. But I know myself. I'm pretty confident the episodes are actually there, and you have a good day.